Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 159. Now, as you can hear from my voice, I'm still a bit croaky, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was last week and through the week, to be honest. Finally starting to get my voice back, which is good because it means that I'm going to be able to do the TCU Challenge summary video soon, which I've delayed because I wasn't feeling well, which has a little twist this time, so I'm really looking forward to getting it done. Hopefully I'll have that out this coming Thursday, so watch out for that. This week's been a bit of a shorter week in terms of hobbying. My friend was here last weekend. It was brilliant. He stayed until Tuesday, so I didn't do any hobbying really while he was here. Had a really nice time, but I did get to play some games on the Sunday night, which was brilliant. We played Snake, the board game, and we also played the Night Cage, which I found that I made a couple of mistakes in my first playthrough, which we picked up while we were playing together, which is cool. So what I'll probably do is film another play of that and try and get that on the channel as well. Really good fun, and we managed to win. We managed to survive literally at the last gasp, which is what you want from a game, isn't it? Anyway, I've also gone back to some older projects this week. I'm working on the dropship, and I'm also obviously pushing through with my next TCU challenge and a couple of other bits and pieces. So I hope that you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really appreciate and value all your comments, so don't be shy. Do say hello. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. I had a delivery yesterday, and yeah, pretty cool one. So this is my die-hard advent calendar. So you have Hans Gruber falling out of the Nakatomi Plaza. I am actually going to glue these little feet in place. So I've got my glue just to one side, which I will do shortly. But yeah, you have Hans. It's got a little magnet on the back, and he will fall down in the countdown towards Christmas, which is pretty cool. And then at the same time, for the same person, I picked up some like things that can be hanging, some hanging decorations for the tree. So a couple of Hans, and this particular one, which is particularly cool. And then Nakatomi Plaza Christmas Party 1988. If you want to get this, please do pay attention to what he says here. Thank you for buying the original. There are a lot of these that you can get from people who have ripped this idea off, which I am not very much a fan of, obviously. And so please do go to Leatherhead Laserworks if you want to pick one of these up. He is a brilliant guy, shipped very quickly, packed very well, good price. And yeah, go to leatherheadlaserworks.com. I'm not sponsored. I paid for this myself. No way has the guy asked me to do this. But yeah, so if you do want to get one of these, go to leatherheadlaserworks.com to pick one up. He's got a lot of other cool stuff on there as well. But yeah, so that will be my, that's awesome for Christmas. I'm very pleased it arrived. Came from America, and these will be being hung on the tree as well. So yeah, really cool. So I had another couple of things deliver as well yesterday. This is a Kickstarter. I had this was the second half. The first half arrived quite a long time ago. They had some difficulty with printing, I think, what with all the chaos because of COVID and China and what have you. So it arrived yesterday, which is really cool. This is a series which I really do love supporting. They call it the Valiant Defence series, and it's all about real life occurrences that took place in battles, mostly World War II, it seems. So we've got Pavlov's house, the Battle of Stalingrad, and we've got Lanzareth Ridge, Battle of the Bulge. So these are solo games, so I will try to bring these to the channel at some point when I get time. I do seem to be playing more games now, slowly but surely getting some more games, so there is more of a chance. I'm not going to open them because I want to keep them nice, but the other thing that they come with, which is really cool, is a little booklet, a companion book. What this does as part of this series is it tells you the history that the game is based on. So I love the fact that they go into all this effort to pull all this historical documentation together to back up and educate, because education is very important. If we don't learn, we will repeat. So yeah, really fascinating, and I do believe that within the games they generally try to use the correct names for the people that are actually there and be as absolutely accurate as they can be to the historical actions. So yeah, really happy those have arrived. I've now got the 4 of these series, so I'll be trying to play them through. I've been told they're supposedly quite difficult, but not very hard to pick up and understand and play, so I'll try and get some games on them at some point, maybe next year, and bring them to the channel. But for now, they'll go on the shelf until I get time. Well, I've just picked this up to do some more on it, having left it sitting for months, and I've found that it's got damaged, so I'm going to need to glue the wing back on, which is a shame. And also one of the guns got broken off. I think something fell on it, don't remember. But that's one of the problems of not finishing a job, is it gets damaged. However, what you can see is I've done a test, so I'll do that off camera. Let's glue that back on. Might pin it, might drill it and put some metal in there, not sure. But excuse me, sorry, I have started to glue the to paint the these bits of wood, which are going to eventually be stuck into and supporting the plane. So what I'm going to do after I've done that gluing is I'm going to start to work out where I want to drill these, and I'm going to start to drill them. Now this one I believe is actually supposed to go in here, so what I'll be doing is working at roughly what position it will be in, make a note, drill it in and see whether I can't get that done. Now the fact that that has broken off makes me think that maybe I should be worried about reinforcing this a bit better. However, I am going to be gluing it touching the base here, so I think I should be okay, but I do just need to make sure that everything is going to line up nicely, because I think it's going to be roughly like that, isn't it? So and that's going to come in here. So yes, I'm going to glue this. So I'm muttering a bit, I'm still not feeling very well. So I'm going to glue the wing back on, glue that weapon onto the other wing, and then what I'll do is I will mark and drill for this to go in, and look and see if I need to do any more to support it, and I'll bring you along when I come to the drilling, basically. So yeah, there we are. So I've fixed the breakages, left that clamped for a good while, so I'll come to that now. I think what I've just been doing is playing around with some angles. You can see that I've got some little wedges to support, and I'm thinking about gluing them in this way, and I'm thinking about making use of my grabby glue to glue them in. So basically put a little blob on underneath here and a little blob underneath here, and then hope that that's enough, and if it's not, then it's not, but that's my first attempt is going to be like that. But I think what I actually need to do before I do that is do all the drilling so that I don't have these delicate ships that could get damaged by an errant drill sliding around, which would be very frustrating if that were to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with my nicely repaired dropship, and this, which is where and the idea is, as you know, as I've said a few times, that it's going to be held something like that, or potentially even lower down. Might need to trim that a bit, but yeah, it's going to be held something like that. So I just need to start doing some drilling, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark where that is going to get cut through. So let me just get a pencil, so a pen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get my drill, and I probably won't do that on camera because it's going to be a nasty noise, but we're just going to drill in roughly on that X. Let's get this right. Sorry for the terrible cinematography. Actually, it's going to go, I want it to go in on that purple for obvious reasons. So yeah, we're going to drill in roughly in that, and we're going to drill in that direction. There we are. So I'm going to go and get a drill, put a hole through at an angle for that, and hopefully get it at the right angle so that when I come along I can slot that in, push that down in there, and we can see whether that's going to work. So I'm going to go get my drill, get that done, and I'll bring you back when I finish drilling, and we'll see whether I've made a huge mistake or not. Well, that worked really well. So I made use of my drill, just using the correct size drill bit. And what you can see here is we've got the one that I did my test paint on, and we've got a couple of other ones sticking up which are going to go into the main engines here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and spray paint them now, but they line up really nicely, and when they're secured, you can see that they actually do support the weight of the spaceship, which is really, really cool. So yeah, so the next thing that I need to do on this is go and paint these two rods the same as this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some fluff, some of this hollow fibre type stuff. I'm going to glue this in place. I'm probably going to do 2 puffs per, maybe one every couple of centimetres, and then also spray paint that as well. So I'm going to get those assembled, and then what I'll actually do is glue them to the dropship and then slide them in place and glue them in place. And the reason I'm going to do that is I actually did this a little bit too deep, so it actually needs to sit a little bit further up than the full depth, though I could potentially pack that with glue maybe. When I come to gluing it, I'll bring you along. But yeah, the next thing to do is to assemble these little the engine outlets, the engine smoke and stuff, whatever you want to call it, using these rods and some hollow fibre, which I've got some hollow fill. So I'll go and do that, and I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. Well, I've pretty much got every dinosaur that I want for this printed out now. So next step is going to be basically starting to working like I've done on this one, but doing it for all of them. So I'm going to get my green stuff, or milliput or whatever, fill in all these gaps, prime them all, and then paint them. And I'll probably do a little bit of a talking about how I'm going to paint them when I get to it. But the one that I'm going to do on camera, mostly for the assembly, is going to be this one, where I really want to, like I've said, I want to adjust the position of the head and the position of the tail. So when I come to do that, I'll bring you along, but for the most part it's just going to be a couple of gap fills, not very many because most of them printed out at once, and then a load of priming and then painting, and then we can get on with the we can get to positioning them and that. So I think the next thing I'm going to start is designing the station. So I'll get my sketch pad out once I've done that and got that to looking how I want it to. I'll show you how I'm going to assemble it. So yeah, we're about midway through November now. I've had a bit of a crazily busy time, and I'm a bit behind where I wanted to be on this, but still got a month or so to go, so hopefully I can get it done in time. Right, so we are about to start working on this area here on the terrain, and Rosie is all queued up, knows what she's doing. And we're going to be making use of my method using terrain paint, which is basically house paint mixed with PVA and water. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're just going to paint it into an area down here. So just somewhere on there. Just paint it quite thick like this. Make sure to cover it all. Once you've done a bit, get some more paint and put it back on. It dries quite quick, so work quite quickly. Okay, so once you've painted a bit like that, I want you to reach over and I want you to get the sand and use not with the spoon, no, use this. Okay, and hold it very carefully flat. And what you need to do is basically pour it over the top. Very careful, that's it, sprinkle it over. Like that. Don't have to be too precious. Like that, you see. And then once we've done one area, what we'll do is I've got your old, no, don't pick any more up. I've got your old bath down there, so I'll go down here and shake it off. And you see that the sand has stuck. Can you see that? Yeah. So what we need to do, can you do the next bit next to it, paint next to it? What we need to do is we need to do the whole of this. So just paint patches, a little bit more, put some sand on it, we'll shake it off and rinse and repeat. And that is what we're going to do now. So I popped some music on, you can enjoy watching us work away on this. So I certainly should have done this by asking someone to help me with the 3D and extend the tail out, because this is going to not be very easy, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So I'm not going to film all of it because it's probably going to take quite a long time, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this tail into sections and then glue it back together and then fill in the gaps with my milliput. So I've got my razor saw here and I'm going to cut it roughly here first of all, because I really want it to be going straight back. I want to give a good idea of the length of this dinosaur. And it's just going to be a lot of this. So once I've got this cut into sections and I'm about to reassemble, I will then bring you back, because this is just going to be a bit tedious. Also, I need to put my mask on, because when you're cutting, you should be wearing a mask. So I started cutting up the tail, and lots and lots of resin inside. I'd obviously not drained it very well with my drain holes, and again, as I've been cutting up the neck, which is now done, you can just see how wet the saw is, and there is resin coming out. So not so much on that one, so I did a better job of doing the drain holes, but still, that just does go to show when I'm doing these hollow prints, this is why some of them fail, because over time, because if you leave that in there, it will rot from the inside out and collapse. So just to show you that. So what I'm going to do now is put that in some boiling hot water with soap, rinse it out, let it dry completely. So I am not going to be able to assemble it now, but I'm happy with how it's going to go. You can see that is going to go to the body. I'm going to have to do a fair bit of filling there, a fair bit of filling there, but then no filling on that bit. So yeah, pretty happy with how that's going to look. And the tail I will continue cutting up very shortly. It's pretty much got all of the resin coming out of it now. I'm just let me just pull the camera over and show you actually. So that there is boiling hot water, and you can see soap in it as well, and I'm basically filling it up with water and then emptying it out like that to try to clear out the insides, because yeah, I don't want any resin in there really. It's a pain that. It probably means it's not very well cured either on the insides. So hopefully this won't collapse on me. But there was a lot of resin coming out of this when I initially cut it, so it's a lot better than it was. You actually couldn't even see the reinforcement on the inside really when I started to clean this up. So yeah, you live and learn, and I'm glad that I decided to adjust this, because I would never have known, and then it probably would have disintegrated over the next year or two, and that would have been really sad. So there we are. But I do need to still do some chopping. As you can see, I've still got way too much of a tail on that. That'll be basically the same job, but same idea. I'll do cut here, cut here, cut here, and then it'll be fine. So anyway, I'll bring you back when I come to reassembly. Right, so I've got my orange fluff balls, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is, hopefully this is going to work. So yeah, I want to make sure I get the right ones in the right places. So I've got a very small one which is going to go at the end. I've got a large one. Yeah, so I think it's like that. There we are. Right, so what we're going to do, no, it was like that. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to push that through the centre with a little bit of glue on here. So we'll put some glue on like that, and then shove that through, which will take the glue with it, and that then will kind of look a little bit like that. So I've got to do that for all the rest of them. So we'll put a bit of glue on here now and shove through. Actually quite hard to push through, particularly now I've put paint on it. Oops. But I tell you what, I'll get these done off camera. I might have to get a knife out and cut them, to be honest, because that really doesn't want to go through at all. So I'll get that done off camera, but I'll get them all kind of slid onto these sticks, and then when that's done I'll bring it back and we'll actually glue the ship in place pretty much straight away, because I might want to move these around a little bit, but I'll bring it back when I've got all these kind of slid onto the sticks, because that's quite difficult. Right, so I've done that. That actually ended up being alright. I just got my very sharp snips, snipped a little kind of guide hole, and then I was able to slot it in. So what I'm going to do now, as I say, is I'm going to start to actually stick the craft onto these. So I've got some PVA glue, which I'm dipping. You're going to dip each end of these in, and I'm going to hope that this is going to be enough, but we shall see, I suppose. So we can slot each of these in, and then I will then balance the spaceship on each of these and hold it up, wedge it up while this dries overnight. This is a particularly messy process with lots of PVA, but hopefully this is going to work. So let's see. I'm going to use this very scientific method of having a jug to support it. So these should now slot in place. Like so. And hopefully, there we are, hopefully when that all dries, that will be secure. So we will leave that now overnight, we won't touch it, and we'll find out in the morning if that's secure or not. So it's actually supported on here, here, here and here. So it is, yeah, it might not. We'll find out. We'll find out. But they look pretty much exactly how I wanted them to, with little puffs of kind of like showing explosions as if it's moving very fast or whatever. So that's working perfectly. Once I've got this all glued in place, then we'll do the other ships, and then pretty much we'll be done, which is good, because I sat and stared at this for way too long. It's very nice to have made a little bit more progress on it. Well, that's worked well. That is now self-supporting. I am thinking that I probably do need to secure it by this wing, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to leave that for now. And the next thing that I'm going to do on this is going to be to position the fighters and these transports. Now, the force perspective I'm going for is these transports. It's not going to work as well as I wanted it to. Now I'm looking at it assembled, but I live and learn. These transports are supposedly a long way away. So that was my kind of like force perspective. These were a lot lower and these were a lot higher. So that was the idea. I will be gluing these in at angles. I'm going to use the grabby glue, so I'll be doing that next, and I'll probably glue one going towards and one going away, just to give a little bit more of an interesting perspective to something like that. So I'll grab the grabby glue and we'll stick those in, and then probably, oh, it's right here, it's right next to me. I couldn't see it for looking. And then I'll think a little bit more about how I'm going to do these fighters, because the fighters I want to have potentially a little bit more lifted, so I might come in with some more thin rod, or I might do it with wire. I'm not sure. I really should be planning this better, shouldn't I? But let me just quickly move the camera, or move this, rotate this round so that I can actually get to these ships. There we are. And so what I think I want is, I think I want this one banking towards, that's the front, and this one banking away, maybe coming up. Maybe something like that, I think. So, going to need to be very careful with my application of this, and I'm going to need to get something, so we'll get some little bits of XPS. So that will help me to, there we are, that's a good angle for that. So what I can do here is a little blob here, and what I'll do is I'll come along with some paint or something and touch this white up if it's visible. There we are. So I can just come in here with a little bit of green and blue and whatever paint and hide that if it's visible from the front. Just going to get myself a toothpick to clean down the white glue, which has gone a little bit high on the engine there. And there we are. But I might just leave that and then do the other one next. Let that go off for a couple of hours. Excuse me, still got a bit of a cough. And then this can come like this, I think. So we'll have something like that angle. And I think that's quite a nice dynamic look. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Right, I will bring you back when I'm coming to do the fighters. I will use exactly the same technique on this one as I did on that. I'll just come back to have a look at this. These all now nicely dried, and this has worked out really nicely. So this was how the neck was, curling around like that, and I've cut it. And what I've realised is if I cut it and just rotate every piece like that, I end up with a pretty good shape for the neck. So let me just make sure that I'm not barking up the wrong tree. And what I think I might start to do, so that like that curves it down, as you can see. That curves it down some more, and then that like that. So as you can see, by just doing those simple cuts, I'm glad I wasn't going mad, because I was looking at it. I might still want to kind of I might want to rotate that a little bit actually. Yeah, let's do that, that's better. So if I do it like that, does that look a little bit unnatural maybe? A little bit too much of an S bend in a neck? I'm not sure how flexible the necks were. This is quite difficult. Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to glue that on there, because yeah, I need to glue that on there, like that. Just starting to change it around. You can see that's the way it should be. Sorry, that's the way it should be, and that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to glue that on there, let that dry, and then what I'll do is I'll build up each section of neck one at a time, glue it in place, make sure it looks nice. I might need to put some grabby glue in like this to fill some gaps. That won't be what I'll use to hold it, it'll just be there to do it temporarily, because I will do some milliput. And then once I've got all of the neck built, I'll show you how it looks. But I think that's probably how I'm going to do it, just rotate each bit. I may need to cut the neck once more, or I may need to have a little bit more of a kind of like of a gap that needs to be filled, just to make it not quite so S-shaped. But yeah, I think I need to glue this to here so that I'm not juggling 5 pieces, and then move on from there. So I'll bring you back when I get to the next step. Well, there we are. As I say, a bit of a shorter week in terms of availability for hobbying, but a really fun one. It was really good to get back hobbying with Rosie after such a long break, with her being away and then coming home sick, and then me getting sick. It's been weeks and weeks since we've hobbied, and it was really good fun. We haven't finished off, as you saw. We actually stopped hobbying at the end of that clip, and we'll finish off doing all the paint and sand hopefully today. The weather's a bit worse today. We didn't do any yesterday because it was sunny. Hopefully today we'll get a little bit more time. But yeah, as you know, that's a great pleasure to me to do. And the other projects, it was good to get back to some old projects and to hopefully get them off of my like being an albatross around my neck, and I can start to wrap up a couple of these ones. The dropship, and also the Orbs diorama is still there, still progressing very slowly in the background, making painting up books. I still need to do a couple of different ideas for books, but it'd be good to get those 2 projects out of the way, and then I can start on some new bigger ones. Anyway, enough rambling for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did manage to get it this far, then I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll wrap up by saying, still ongoing incredibly. If any of you are impacted directly or indirectly by the horrible war in Ukraine, then my thoughts do go out to you and anyone you know who might be caught up in that. Just a horrible thing. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.